The Witness podcast is created by Blake Martin. This is episode 3 of 5, Satori, and is made from an interview with Christopher Birnbaum. This podcast contains full spoilers for the game. It is absolutely worth it to experience it firsthand. Even if you think that you've beaten the game, there may be more mysteries to discover. If you would like to be on this podcast, please contact Blake at ManNamedBam or myself at CHRBIR1.
Here's the excerpt on koans.
Two major schools of Zen exist in Japan, the Rinzai and the Soto. Both have the same goal of seeing the world unmediated, but their approaches are different. In the Soto school, the emphasis is on quiet contemplation in a seated position without a particular focus for thought. The method in the Rinzai school, however, is to put the intellect to work on problems that have no logical resolution. Such problems are known as koans, from the Chinese kengan, meaning public announcement. Some are mere questions. For example, when your mind is not dwelling on the dualism of good and evil, what is your original face before you were born? Others are set in a question and answer form, like, what is the Buddha? Answer, 3 pounds of flax, or the cypress tree in the courtyard, to name but two of the classic responses. According to tradition, there are 1,700 such conundrums in the Zen repertoire, and their common aim is to induce a kind of intellectual catastrophe, a sudden jump, which lifts the individual out of the domain of words and reason into a direct, non-mediated experience known as Satori. Zen differs from other meditative forms, including other schools of Buddhism, in that it does not start from where we are and gradually lead us to a clear view of the true way of the world. It is not a progressive system in this respect. The sole purpose of studying Zen is to have Zen experiences, sudden moments, like flashes of lightning, when the intellect is short-circuited and there is no longer a barrier between the experiencer and reality. David Darling, 1996.
So yeah.
So cool. So cool. You might remember this better than I do, but because it's been a while and because I've played the game so much, I don't remember if this is how it happened the first time I went up to the mountain with you guys. So, I didn't know that there were environmental puzzles, period. Mm-hmm. And I go up to the top of the mountain, you guys tell me to look at that panel over there. I'm like, all right. And then I think that you guys told me to step to the side and, look at the river. And I was like, oh, that's nice. It looks kind of like a puzzle. Yep. And then I turned around and I walked back down the mountain.
I remember we were dying. We were just, trying so hard to hold it together.
I was like, oh, that's a neat little design choice that they did. It's referencing the thing that the game's about. This is so cute.
Oh, that's so funny.
Did you guys make me go back up there?
No.
Okay, you guys just let me walk away.
We let you
walk away. That's
what
I thought happened. And then later, I watched, I think, the IGN review. And they put at the beginning of it, please don't watch this if you're planning on playing the game or, if you don't want it spoiled. And, halfway through the video, they show a person just, walk up to a field and look up at the clouds. The stationary clouds. Mm-hmm. And then, they click and they move their cursor and then it cuts to black and then it continues on the interview. But the idea there is conveyed clearly. Mm-hmm. And I was like, oh, man. Everything is a puzzle. Oh, my God. And, I wish that I had experienced that in-game, and I felt kind of bad for having watched it. You guys told me not to watch anything. I did anyways, I know. But I think that it is really... It was still a really cool idea. And finding the environmental puzzles is such a joy. Mm-hmm. Because not only are they fun, and not only are they cool meditations on, environments and how they interact with each other. But it also is continuously telling the player everything is on purpose here. This is a game that was made with intentional design, and it's like really like there's a lot of thought. And it's really nice to have that assurance from the developers. And it makes looking for them on this island almost like kind of more pleasurable, because you're like, all right, so this pebble is here because somebody chose it to be there. It's not incidental design, you know? Like incidental music in certain films, or like especially TV shows. Or like incidental design in like some aspects of architecture, where it's just like they just kind of threw it together. There wasn't like a grand idea behind it. And even if it's not like a grand idea, at least it's like very intentional in this game. I don't know. Do you have any reaction to that before I barrel on through?
Yeah, about the intention, like, and pebbles in particular. When I was searching for audio logs, I'd be walking in the desert and be sure that I found one, and then walk up to it. It's just a little pebble. It's like they're messing with us, but also
They're
like
very much messing with
but
us
like
a lot of the time.
I'm fine with it. Like that's funny. That's funny, and it makes it feel better when I do find one.
It is a funny game. Like it's a funnier game than I think people realize.
Yeah, there's a lot of life in the jokes, even though it's
Not word jokes.
it's like an island with no people. It's,
No, and they're like, I think that a lot of comedies are funny, but very few comedies are funny the 50th time you watch them, or are as funny the 50th time you watch them. And there's two directors that their movies, every time I watch them, they're twice as funny at minimum. And that's Jacques Tati and Buster Keaton. Jacques Tati is a French film director. My favorite movie, like in my top 5, it's Playtime by Jacques Tati, which is like there's so much going on in every frame, and there's so much subtle, nobody notices it unless you've seen the film 10 times, subtle physical comedy that is so funny. It's so funny. Like you can, I recommend everybody just to go like watch the dinner scene from Playtime. It's like, watch like the first like 8 minutes and you will laugh at something, I promise you. And then Buster Keaton, there's a lot of physical comedy, but it's not super complex. Like it's always very simple ideas, but the execution of them and like the tenderness of it and like the intentionality of all of the jokes and the subversion of expectations, like everything in the house, like when he's like sitting to dinner with his roommate, like everything in the house is dual purposes. So he's like cooking on the stove, and then he puts the food onto the serving platter, and then he puts the stove down and he flips over the panel on the stove and he pulls out a record and he puts it down on the stove and he turns the needle and he turns it up, and it's music, and it's a music player now. And like that's really funny to me. I hope it's funny to everybody, but I laugh every time I watch that because everything is sort of like very intentional. And so like it makes them have a high replay value.
Yeah, and I mean, I feel like the high replay value comes from the game having multiple levels. Like, this game works really well if you just solve the puzzles.
Like, you get an ending. You get, like, a regular ending, and you can plausibly finish it without ever finding the extra stuff.
It's a great game. It's a good puzzle game. It has great puzzle design, great conveyance. It does a lot of different things just on a surface level. And then there are these little nuggets where if you're willing to dig a little more, you're going to start finding more in everything. And it's going to cause you to be mindful to have these moments of epiphany or to have an unmediated reaction, unmediated experience in like recognizing the world, and feel like that's where Satori comes into play in the game. The multiple levels and wanting to connect in kind of a deeper way with what you're experiencing in the game.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
So good. So I sort of like dug into this next thought a little bit earlier, but I'm going to read this section and I hope that it's not too much of a mess. The game itself feels really, really focused on the possibility of delivering over and over the feeling of epiphany. Each solution gives you knowledge, possibly also frustration, and you can use that knowledge to progress further on the island. The island's keys are not Zelda dungeon keys, but are the knowledge of the game's mechanics. There's a few moments of like epiphany that really stand out to me when I was thinking back to my experience of playing the game. I think that hearing the first audio log that had people talking in it was a really big moment for that. Figuring out the solution to the second floor of the mountain after thinking that it was impossible for like 20 minutes.
Are you talking about the puzzle that's one solution on many panels? Or
No, I'm talking about the
walkways?
The double walkway. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, that was such a good puzzle.
Which, for note, is Jonathan Blow's favorite puzzle in The Witness. He thinks it's the best puzzle.
It's great.
Like, finally finishing that, it's like, oh, that is so cool.
Uh-huh.
You have to do it there, and then the door opens. Figuring out the quarry elevators environmental puzzle was really, really satisfying because it's really obvious once you know that there's environmental puzzles, and none of the angles that you try and look at it work. It's like almost, but not quite. And then you realize that you have to ride the elevator. It's either up or down.
You write it down, yeah.
You write it down. And you finally get it. You have to like stand on the edge of the platform.
Yeah.
But there's no falling in this game, so you can just do that.
Yeah, and like the first time you ride that elevator, you're like, oh, it's so slow.
It's so slow.
I'm so mad at this game. It said it wasn't gonna waste my time in the trailer. But it's wasting my time right now. But then, when you realize...
what do you have to do? Then you're like, it's almost not slow enough.
Yeah.
Especially, like, it's definitely the same, although I think that they are too slow. The marsh.
Yeah.
It's like, I think it's like a minute or something. It's awful when you're not doing that exact environmental puzzle.
Yeah, I never felt weird in those moments. I mean, it kind of made me not want to have to ride back. It made me want to solve the puzzles on the other side of the marsh before going back. But like when the first bunker opened, I didn't feel mad that it took like 20 seconds for the door to open. I was just like, oh, I did it.
Yeah.
Oh, it just feels so good.
the bunker's opening, I don't have any problem with.
Yeah.
It's really, like, I don't have any problem with how slow the stuff is. Except for, like, maybe the boat docking.
Oh, yeah, the boat.
The boat docking doesn't need to be that slow.
Yeah, but there's a speed running technique where you can get around.
Yeah.
I'm not good at it, so I just don't. I just set the controller down and just relax for a second.
And a bunch of them, like, they weren't... I don't know if I would call some of my favorite moments necessarily epiphanies, but just like, man, this is just a nice puzzle. This is really cool. Like, a lot of the environmental puzzles in the monastery are just like, that's just such a cool idea. Like, I just love this idea so much. the challenge was such a relief, but that's not like epiphany. That's that's a challenge. And on top of that, like the regular ending just feels like it really makes you feel like you have mastery over these game mechanics. So unfortunately, my moment of epiphany was sort of outside of the game.
Yeah.
But I still really, it made me want to go and play the game. It didn't make me go like, oh, now I know. I wish that I figured it out myself. It was more like, oh my God, there's got to be like 1 billion of these. I have to find all of them. Mm-hmm. And I still haven't found all of them. I have 99 out of 130 whatever. Mm-hmm. Some of them are really hard. Yeah. I don't want to find them all the time.
Yeah.
I recently found out, I don't know if you know this, and this might be spoilers. You can tell me to stop if you want me to.
No, it's I'm gonna at the beginning of every episode there's gonna be a big spoiler warning.
The faces of the monolith point towards where the environmental puzzles are.
Oh, really?
I didn't know that until
That's
very
cool.
recently.
I knew that the arrangement on the obelisk
were intentional.
Had something to do.
Yeah.
Because like I knew.
But they literally point in the direction.
That's cool. I knew that like all the ones in the keep with the walkways. Mm-hmm. I knew all of those were arranged together on one side of the obelisk. Right. But I didn't realize that it
was pointing. Yeah.
Which those are hard. Those are a very
There's
cool
one of them that
extra step.
Yes, I agree. Mm-hmm. There's one of those I didn't do, and that's the double line blue one.
Yeah.
The whatever the secondary solution of it is. I haven't figured that out.
Yeah. Those are hard. Those are fun and hard.
Yeah. There's as I stated before, like there's a really big one with the audio logs found inside of the mountain's cave system once you get all of the lasers and do that extra discarded panel.
Do you remember the audio log on the docks below like the jungle? What? Yes.
Yeah.
I got serious spooky chills.
Spooky chills.
And I was like...
You showed that one to me when I was still playing through it. And I was like, huh. And you were like, that's all I found.
Yeah, and I was so positive that because that one audio log was orange, it had to mean something. And it might. I still haven't quite parsed what the different colored lights and the different colors of the little recorders mean. For a while, I thought that yellow meant like religious and green meant scientific, and I have no idea what orange means. Thought it might have some connection to the voice actors, but not all of the cave ones with the voice actors just speaking are orange. So I don't know.
Are they? Oh,
I don't.
They were all.
They might be. I think there's one with a white light right when you walk in. From like all the mountain paths, you can open the one door. Mm-hmm. There's one with a white light right there. I can't remember what they talk about in that one. I think that's the one where they talk about whatever her name is. They do all have names, but I can never remember them. The one who was going to the island and experiencing it, she's talking about how it's affected her. And that one has the white light. And I don't think there are any others with white lights on the whole island. But it probably means something because this game is so intentional. Like, what? And, like, I've played this game so much. And there are still things to discover. And, like, epiphanies to have.
I thought that... So there's, like, 2 colors of flowers in the lake, right?
Yes, there are yellow and white flowers.
I thought that the yellow flowers meant that they were the voice actor ones of like where like it broke the fourth wall.
The yellow ones are underground.
Okay.
And the white ones are above ground.
Okay.
I don't think that all of the yellow ones have the voice actors speaking to each other.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, of course they don't. Yeah.
But. Yeah.
Oh man, there's more layers. And it's so poorly documented on the wiki.
Yeah, and most YouTube reviews I find are just like, oh, this game is hard and I've done all I want with it. And I'm like, okay, that's fair. I'm not calling you out, YouTubers, if you somehow hear this podcast. I like your reviews. I like different perspectives on this game.
Oh man, like I think that like the like Satori experience, the like epiphany experience, is really amplified as you said, because of like all of the puzzles that lead up to those kinds of moments. Like when you do the discarded designer panel, like you hear a door opening and it's out of your frame of view, and then you turn around and it's opening and you're like, oh my god. You run into it and it's like a super tall cave, and there's like a puzzle to open the second door, and then
a blue puzzle.
And then you run in and it's like a huge tall cave. It's like it's the biggest area like vertically besides the sky in the game.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And it's like really gorgeous, and you're like, oh man, like this game just keeps getting bigger. It really just does. Yeah.
And it all just exists on this island that was there the whole time. I mean, you can't immediately get into the cave, but you can pretty much go anywhere else you want on the island once you pass the tutorial.
Yeah, I remember finding those doors and seeing that there was a panel on the other side. And you can kind of see into the cave. Like, you know that it's there if you stumble upon it, but you finish the game and then you're like, wait a minute. What about that other area?
Yeah, like you see the back of a door and you see
like there's a crack so you can see like into the...
Yeah, just a little bit. And you're like, what? There's water that goes in there. There are lights in there. What's happening? I beat the game already.
Yeah. Man, like... So, like, you come to an elevator, and it goes upwards and downwards. You come upon a set of puzzles that seem like almost but not quite like the rest of the game. They're not quite like the puzzles that you've seen in the game. And there's, like... I don't know, to me, it's like, it's almost an uncanny feeling. Especially the black puzzles. Where, like... You can't see the dots.
Oh, yeah.
Those have sort of a weird feeling to doing them. And I already had what my assumption was immediately, that these are just bonus panels. Like, and that's what they are. And they were like kind of like puzzles that they decided like, oh, this is too hard, or like this doesn't convey the message that we want, but they're cool enough that we'll still leave them in the game, just not in a place where people would get really frustrated with them. And at the end of one of these little hallways that have the series of puzzles, you find an audio log, as we stated before, but instead of like a perspective on the world, it's a perspective on the island.
Yeah.
Because it's like the voice actors talking themselves, like to themselves. And you're taken out of the simple narration style of like people dutifully dictating the words of the dead and great, but it's a conversation between two people who are recording these for somebody. Maybe you, the player, you know? And based on the other audio logs you can find here, you can glean a greater story as like sort of like an experience of like what the island really is, of like, oh, this is a game and it's being beta tested and that kind of stuff. And also that like they don't like sandwiches and whatever. So like you're a beta tester in a game about an island that has puzzles in it. And like the game, you unlock the secrets of the mountain and the island. I think that's like how the Steam description goes. You don't unlock the secrets themselves. You unlock access to the secrets. You unlock access to the mystery. And I think that that's kind of funny, which is why I sort of enjoy that all of the, like, a bunch of the stuff that, like, describes the game is spoilers, but you can say it without it being spoilers. It's a game about perspectives. It is a game about puzzles. It's a game about an abandoned island.
You wake up alone on a strange island full of puzzles that will challenge and surprise you. That is the Steam description of this game. It's pretty apt.
Yeah.
I would say. And the recent reviews are overwhelmingly positive.
Overwhelmingly positive. And what's the very positive? Is that
That's
the...
all reviews.
Oh, all
since
reviews.
the game
Okay.
came out. And it's only $40 now. Wait, no, it's always been $40. I thought it was 60. I think it's been 40. I only share it with people when it's on sale on Steam. I feel kind of bad.
It's kind
But
of
also
expensive.
I don't. It's kind of expensive.
It's $10 on iOS.
It is. And it's the whole game, apparently. I haven't tried it.
I haven't tried it. I heard that they were, like, developing mist walking mechanics.
Oh, yeah.
But if they do that,
Then how
then
does the
how are they
whole
not
game
giving
work?
away all of the environmental puzzles?
Yeah.
Do you have to beat the game and then you get extra movement options? Because that's lame.
I
my
think the
man.
way it works is like you point and click where you want to walk.
Like Google Maps.
Yes. It's like Google Maps. You see somebody doing something stupid. They got caught by the Google car.
Oh,
the
man.
island.
That is funny. So,
Satori.
Satori! Don't leave that in. I take it back.
And now I have to leave all of that. Yeah. Another thing about Satori, it's like really important in Zen Buddhism. Like they say it in the game, but like that's
It's the thing.
like the thing.
Yeah.
In any reading I've done about Zen Buddhism or koans or like the point of koans, trying to wrap my head around it, they always just say the point is Satori. I'm like, what is Satori? I think I should read a definition of Satori.
I mean, if you want some stuff, like to read, I haven't read much Eastern stuff, but I read the Lao Tzu and I really like it. Or Tao Te Ching. I don't remember if it's the author or the book title. I apologize.
All right. Satori is a Japanese Buddhist term for awakening, comprehension, understanding. It is derived from the Japanese verb satoru.
What does Satoru mean?
To know or to understand.
Oh, okay, cool.
In the Zen Buddhist tradition, Satori refers to the experience of kensho, seeing into one's true nature.
Thanks, Wikipedia.
Ken means seeing, sho means nature or essence. Satori and kensho are commonly translated as enlightenment, a word that is also used to translate bodhi, prajna, and Buddhahood.
Buddhahood.
So it's kind of like the thing in
It
Zen
is-
Buddhism.
Yeah.
I don't feel like this game waters anything down
No.
or gives like Walmart or like a store brand Buddhism.
No.
I feel like the reason it goes to
Such great lengths.
the reason it uses all these quotes rather than something else is because, I mean, I don't know. I found it effective, and I felt like they just enhanced the experience of the game.
Mm-hmm.
They weren't the whole thing, and the game wasn't the whole thing. It was all the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah. Thank you for listening. The Witness Podcast is created by Blake Martin. If you would like to be on this podcast, please contact Blake at mannamedbam or myself at CHRBIR1.